future's coming. The future's coming fast, faster than we can predict to it or adapt to it. But there's been an upgrade. There's been a little field testing upgrade to the training. You know, I'm talking cybernetics. I'm talking biometrics. Maybe not that crazy. I'm really just talking. I got an Apple Watch. I want to see what my sleep quality is like. Because honestly, I don't know. I know I sleep and I get good sleep and I feel pretty well rested. But who's to say that there aren't some patterns and some recognitions that I can get a little bit more knowledgeable on? But I guess we'll see. I'm not really even wearing a necklace kind of took me a little while to get used to. So if I don't really care for having something on my wrist all the time, I might have to say Best Buy, this guy is getting returned. This thing's getting returned. No, I didn't open it. What are you talking about? No, but plan for today, chest, and I have reason to believe that this pump will be especially diabolical, especially voluminous and fucking every other cool descriptor under the sun for one reason, and that's because I pretty much just had a cheat day yesterday. I'm talking an extra 2,000 calories, like an extra 100 grams of fat, like 300 grams of carbs, of sweets, pretty much. I had some cinnamon toast crunch, some little frozen breakfast sandwiches, some just protein bars. I was fiending. I was fiending for it last night, and I said, you know what? Got to do it. Oh my goodness. But I am not completely derailed off my diet and goals. One day of a cheat day, you can kind of get around it. All you have to do is call it a refeed. And then it's not a cheat day, you just had a refeed day, which is actually legit, because if you diet for long enough, like if you do 4 solid weeks of a good deficit, it is more than likely actually in your best interest to have one day of actually kind of a higher calorie intake. Essentially what I ended up doing, a cheat day, because that'll kind of get your metabolism a little bit more ramped up, because this is your body essentially wants to be in equilibrium at all times. So if you start limiting the amount of food that you're eating, what happens is your body basically goes into starvation mode. It goes into like, oh, this is a pretty poor crop this season mode. And it says, okay, I need to slow down all my functions so that I can run off of this low calorie intake and, not die. So if you eat 2,000 calories for long enough, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're no longer losing weight, because your body is like, okay, I've now adapted myself. 2,000 calories is as many calories as I need every day to stay the same weight. So your rebuttal to that is either decrease the calorie limit even lower to 1,500, which then you're going to continue getting used to, and now your metabolism is getting crazy slow, or have a day where you kind of eat much higher than your baseline calories, which will kind of get your sort of system in gear to burning more calories. And when you go back to 2,000 or a little, maybe 1,900, you can't really get around the lowering of calories over time. You'll be in a fat burning state again. So the real problem arises when you're dieting down and you have a cheat day like that, where, I pretty much nearly ate 2 days worth of food in one day. That's not an initially bad situation, because what happens is you have a little bit of a buffer period between really setting yourself off course of fat burning, because there's that little interstitial change to your body which is called carb loading, which happens before gaining fat. So right now I'm a little bit more full of carbs because I had a lot yesterday, but in general, when you're dieting down consistently, you're basically, we've all heard the terms, right? You're flat, you're low on carbs, you're not like big and full, you're flat. So if you have one day where you kind of go overboard, you kind of lose it, man. You don't call your sponsor to help you and say like, dude, I'm freaking out, man. You don't have somebody to tell you just to do a few little 0-calorie jellos and move on with your day. You will initially just pretty much fill back up, right? The majority of all those extra calories of carbs especially you're just going to end up storing them in your muscle cells as muscle glycogen. So you're just a little bit bigger. You'll probably be a little stronger. The next day when you come do your workout, you're going to be a bit more pumped. Right? That's what's going to happen on day one of a cheat day, which you could call a refeed. There are no there are no 3-day refeeds, right? If you really go overboard calorie wise for even 2 days in a row, you can get back on track pretty well. Like that's not going to be too rough on you. But if you get to the point where you're doing 3 days of like you've just been eating whatever the fuck you want, and it's a lot, like if your baseline is 2,500 calories, you're eating like 4,000, 3 days in a row, you're totally starting to screw yourself because now you've got to get back on track for even longer to make up for those excess calories that you just ate. You know, so what I'm saying there is, at least from my perspective, I try to just be totally strict with my diet, and then after long enough, because this is the only day in these last like 2.5 months where I did this. After long enough where I'm just totally losing my mind, or not losing my mind, but I was like irresponsible, and I have an extra calorie day. It doesn't totally derail the leanness progress. But if you completely go overboard day after day after day, 3 days plus, you got to reevaluate things for real. Because what happens is if you diet like that, where you do 3 good days a week, like, okay, I had 1,800 calories today, nice. But then you have 3 days a week where you eat 4,000 calories, and you're like, oh, I was good the first 3 days, now I kind of lost it. You completely negated all the effort that you just put in those first 3 days. In just, I mean, you could do it in one. You know, some guys have a little bit of a weird dieting approach where they kind of do like carb cycling. So they essentially eat really strict, low calories all week, like really low. I'm talking sub 200 grams carbs, like just really low, like a steep deficit during the week. And then they give themselves one day on the weekend to just go completely fucking bananas, have as much food as they want. And that ends up working fine. Like they don't lose a crazy amount of fat, or they don't gain a ton of fat either. They stay pretty lean because they're just kind of, eating as much food as they would normally eat on average for the week. But you can't do that every other day. 5 good days of dieting can be completely negated by one day of fucking, I mean, let's just be real, binge eating. So there's no getting around that. And that's where I love that anybody who's lost a serious amount of weight can really empathize with me when I say that, like, the amount of food that you're eating is the number one factor which is going to determine how you change just the build of your fucking body, because there is no getting around it. There is no trick that is going to outweigh the power of how many calories you're eating every day and how many calories you're burning as energy every day. But no more dieting talk about that. Plan for the lift, inclined bench, potentially inclined Smith machine, perhaps some incline hammer strength press. I'm not really sure. I kind of have to get into the gym and decide once I start. But it'll follow kind of a basic approach to my normal chest days. Heavy pressing of a few varieties, followed by some cable flies, some cable pressing, some pec decks. And then there is no question. It is absolutely out of the question. It may as well be the fourth law of physics that Sam is going to get a pump. So let's just get started. It'll just be a few assisted ones at the end. No lift off or nothing.
Fingers, and you want like the
Oh, like a little, like when I'm ready for it, just hold on to it. Just help the whole time. Okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think that's enough. Plan here, moderate weight, like I can lift this, but I'm gonna try to really squeeze. Like those sets of incline, I was trying to do as many solid reps as I could and just kind of go through the process of feeling that fucking tension the whole time. Whereas these ones will be much more methodical. So those were kind of more brutish reps. These are gonna be a bit more fucking specific. You know, I'm talking that incline bench was a nuclear bomb. You know, these are fucking heat-seeking missiles. I'm aiming straight at my chest with a fucking, with a specific approach on these. Yeah. 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 One more. Oof. Maybe it drops out. Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. Oh, okay. All right. I'm not sure what's next. Give me a second to think about it. I never used this machine because it always seemed a little bit funky. But after one feeler rep, I think this is going to be fucking pretty cool. A little bit more decline than typical, but I'm starting to have a little bit more of an open mind toward the decline press. Because I know I can still feel my upper chest firing. I'm just hitting my whole pack at once. Now, I'm not going to stop doing mainly incline, but some decline shit, especially later in the workout, especially for the purpose of a real fucking good squeeze. I mean, I've been doing that for a while anyway, so may as well add some pressing in too. Yeah. 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 Let's turn this into rest pause. So, I'm gonna take a couple seconds, catch my breath, and do a few more reps. This counts as one set. Yeah. Yeah. One more. A little lighter. It's too much weight. Do some cable flies. I think we're about done. 90% chance this is going to be the finisher. So, not incline kind of flies. Basic premise, stands right in the middle. Have them about shoulder height, really wide, lightweight. And instead of going kind of like here, which I just have a crazy tendency to use a lot of front delts, instead of this fly path, it'll be more like something like this. So kind of a top to bottom. There are machines that are just like this. Like it looks like a side lateral machine, except you do it for chest flies. If your gym has one of those, you're definitely spoiled. You should have a bigger chest. But one set here, this is light. There's not much swing, at least not until the end. Serious squeeze, big stretch. Serious squeeze, big stretch. And every time I do that, it's like pumping air into a fucking bike tire for my pecs. But let's hit this shit and then move on. Or pose down, I mean. Oh, you better something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's close down. See just how pumped we are from after that chest day. All right. So that was 2 sets of incline barbell, 2 sets of cable press, 2 sets of that fancy chest machine. Now, was it just 1 set of cables? So 7 sets? 7-set workout is fucking A-okay with me. Especially because I know what it's about to fucking look like once I pop the top off. So, honestly, after set number 3, I was already feeling pretty fucking pumped. Number 1 attribute to that being having a few more carbs in the system. But no, I'm definitely let's don't even talk about my excitement for bulking. It's just going to distract me. So let's get a good look. Whew. I may be slightly residually fatigued from yesterday's leg day as well. Honestly, for a second, I thought I may have taken a rest day today, but I don't think that's totally necessary. But yeah, so if there's a touch extra freakiness, it's due to the fact that all the fucking muscle I've got inside of me are now full of a little extra fucking, a little something or other with all the carbs and sugars and water. So let's run through a couple classics here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, honestly, the midsection is probably where everything's looking the craziest right now. Even just sitting in like kind of a relaxed front lat spread, things are getting real fucking separated. Oh man. Well, while I'm this lean, let's not just limit myself to chest poses. Let's see how everything else is looking like as well. If I can even do a fucking side tricep. Holy fuck, dude. All right. I think chest is now adequately pumped, and I can get out of here. So, okay, wait, no. All right, now we can roll. All right, I can't help myself. One more. Ooh. Oh my god. Totally felt like I was gonna pass out from that fucking pose down. Oh. Let's fucking roll. There we go. Just as I need to go home and eat enough food to properly fuel myself to maintain this routine, Mr. Or should I say Mrs. Camry needs to get filled up as well. Nice little $50 worth of 87 unleaded. But solid workout. Now all I gotta do is go home and not overeat, which should not be too hard. I did just have a protein bar that I got at the gym. I'm not gonna enter that in here. Just fucking crash into a tree trying to enter my macros. Not an awesome ending, I would say that for sure. But no, really fucking solid chest day. So yeah, I mean, I'm not joking. You don't have to freak out if you have one day where you go crazy. But you have to be consistent to allow yourself to have that little bit of a buffer, you know? Like, day by day, your weight changes, you know, your calorie intake, it can fluctuate pretty substantially to the point where looking at your weight day by day isn't even really a good indicator of your fat loss or your muscle gain, you know? Because if you really zoom in on somebody's weight progression, it's just a day by day basis, it's gonna fucking look like this. It's going all over the place. You know, one day you may have had some more salt than the other day, so you're holding more water. Vice versa. Maybe you had a lot of meals closer to when you went to bed, so you're waking up and you still have some of that sitting in your stomach. Or another day, maybe you had a lot of food in the beginning of the day. Now your stomach's completely empty in the morning. There's a ton of variables. So day by day is not an awesome indicator. I think week to week is much better. Like if you were to step on the scale only once every week, like Friday morning after you go to the bathroom, you wake up, you don't drink anything, no clothes on, you know, try to get rid of every fucking variable possible. Hop on the scale. Watching that week to week weight change is a good indicator of whether you're doing what you should be doing for whatever your goal is, right? If you're trying to bulk up and you step on the scale and you cannot get past 180 pounds, but you think you're eating a crazy amount of food, I mean, look, I've been a bit blunt with this before. Like in one of the Q&As, or the only Q&A, one guy goes, dude, I can't bulk no matter how hard I try. Am I cooked? And I was like, yeah, man, you're fucking cooked. I don't mean to be so blunt about it, but I kind of do. You know, I get defensive about it, the fact that the amount of food that you eat is really going to be the biggest fucking factor of whether you're able to grow or whether you're able to lose fat and get lean. Because there's no trick about it. You can train like a total dork, or not even, you can train like a complete Neanderthal, but if you're eating enough food to bulk, no matter how maybe unoptimal your training routine is, you're going to grow. If you stimulate the muscle at least just enough to, you know, cause some hypertrophy. And even if your training's total shit and you manage to eat in a calorie deficit, dude, you're going to be fucking diced, you know? It's not a... So that's where diet is on incredibly nearly equal standing with the training in terms of importance. You know, you've got the big three, right? Do you know what they are? I didn't mean to make that sound pretentious. Like, so these are the big three things which I think affect people's performance, recovery, just ability to make progress. Number one is the training itself. Now, this is not in order. Of course, if you don't train, you're never going to grow. Right? It's just that simple, because the training is the stimulus that starts this chain reaction of gains. You know, you got no fire without a match. And then, speaking of fire, here's the fuel. I'm talking about calories. You know, I'm talking about fats, macros, carbs. Or no, what I'm saying, fats, proteins, carbs. You know, fats, pretty solid. Well, not even pretty solid. Damn fucking important for you know, some hormone production, all sorts of other shit to make sure everything's in line. You know, you got your your triglycerides and healthy ranges and whatnot. Your carbs, crazy fucking fuel source, keeping you nice and energized. That's what your brain runs off of, fucking, glycogen. To the point where guys will come home from like a week long chess tournament and they lost 10 pounds because their brain's just fucking constantly running on sugar, man. And then you get the building blocks, the proteins, the amino acids. I'm talking contractile tissue, or any kind of proteins. As long as you're getting enough from a solid protein source, you're going to be able to use that, rewire it, plug it right into your fucking biceps. Boom, new vein. Right. So you got the fire, or you got the match, the training, you got the fuel, the fucking the calories, the food, right? Straight up just the building blocks, and then you've got the wind to fucking put air on the fire, and that's your sleep. And those all three of those things play nicely together. And if any of them are out of whack, then you're gonna see problems. So if your sleep is complete shit, I don't care how much food you eat, you're not going to be able to make proper use of it because now everything about your fucking recovery system is totally out of whack. Somebody running on 5 hours of sleep with the exact same training, diet, intensity, knowledge, genetics, everything, somebody running on 5 hours of sleep will make less gains than somebody running on 8 hours of sleep. And he's going to have less fun just fucking in general because you're a little sleep deprived. And you don't have to be dying to be sleep deprived. You don't have to be like about to croak because you're dehydrated. Right? The body is pretty damn tough, so it can run even if everything's not totally optimal, which unfortunately kind of means that people consider, right, if you can just do something day after day and like you feel fine, then that's good for you. You know? So that's where I think people would be taking their fitness journey much more seriously if we were out in the wild, fucking African safari style, where if you were the most out of shape in the tribe, a fucking lion would catch you. So there's some motivation, you know. But so really getting, locking your head down, or locking. What am I trying to say here? Really locking it into your mind that you got to kind of treat the training, the food, and the sleep as all equal components of your gains. Then if you really want to make progress, if you really want to make fucking improvements, strength, size, just conditioning, I'm not even talking guys who want to be a crazy fucking bodybuilder, just dudes who want to be in good shape, be able to run around, look good, feel good, everything. All three of those things are going to come into massive play. And even if you only make minute improvements to them over time, you're going to reap the fucking rewards, and nobody's going to be able to stop you from doing it, you know? So don't be too discouraged if you're not tracking your macros yet, or like doing meal prep, or if you're not as big as the fucking Joe Schmo next to you. Just know that if you're on the track to improving your, not even just improving your regular gains, but improving the routine that you're doing to get those gains, then it's just a matter of time, you know? Like I was saying yesterday after legs when I was sitting on the back patio, just by being involved in the gym, putting in a little bit of thought and effort into what you're doing, you're just gonna gradually get better at it anyway. Even if you don't have like a complete like dedicated coach or like a whole crew around you giving you tips on how to do things and whatnot. Because if somebody wants to make gains and they're willing and able to consistently practice working out and go to the gym on a consistent basis, look at their progress and see how their training has affected that progress, then they don't have to be a PhD student in exercise physiology. All they have to do is say, man, my fucking biceps are growing like weeds right now. I've been hitting my biceps fucking hard. I better keep doing that. Or, crap, my legs have really fucking fallen behind. I have not been doing much leg training. Maybe I better start fucking prioritizing more legs. Or it's like, oh, I was trying a lot of light squeezing sets for a while. I wasn't really making so much strength progress. I started adding in some, heavy 8 rep sets to the start of my workouts. Now I'm making improvements again. Okay, sweet. It's the guys who really manage to make gains, progressions noticeable from the outside observer year after year after year are the guys who are able to look at where they are, where they're headed, the path of progress they've made so far, and sort of extrapolate and digest all that fucking data in their mind like ChatGPT and say, all right, this bulk I need to change something. If I want to really continue to fucking grow, get bigger than I've ever been, then I need to adjust my routine to, accommodate that goal. And that's something I'm trying to do. I'm getting extra excited for this bulk because I've got the mentality of really trying to lock it in a much more conventional bodybuilding style approach. I'm talking meal prep. I'm talking rice cooker on the kitchen counter. I'm talking ground turkey and prep trays filling up half the fridge. Right? There's some consistency is what I really am trying to build up in my diet as I go forward. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to make the routine more, not tangible is not the word, more stimulating towards my end result or my end goal, which is pretty much just fucking pack some more beef out of my frame. But enough. I think that's enough chit chat. Plan for tonight: chow down. I've got some frozen ground beef in the fridge, which ooh, it's frozen. Yeah, okay, that might screw me. I'll maybe I won't have the ground beef tonight. Maybe I'll just have some eggs or something. To be determined. But another few days of trimming down, and then you know what's next. You know what's about to start happening. I don't even have to say it. So cardio in the morning. I'll see you then.